Welcome to episode 56 of the Sports Geek podcast. On this week's podcast, we look at the challenges facing national sporting organisations, why IFT is awesome, and are you ready for season 10 of the A-League?
Welcome to the Sports Geek podcast, the podcast built for the sports digital marketer. And now, here's your host, who met Magic Johnson in a nightclub, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. I'd forgotten that I'd given one of those intros to DJ Joel, and I can't just leave my my meeting of Magic Johnson just as an intro. It's quite fitting for today because I'm taping this on a Friday, and hopefully it'll go out later today if all things go well. But it's Magic Johnson's birthday today, and he turned 55 today. So happy birthday, Magic. I know you're a big listener of the Sports Geek podcast, now owner of the Dodgers. Or co-owner. I was lucky enough to meet him when he brought out a team to play the Australian basketball team in Melbourne, and they filled Rod Laver Arena. It was $75 a ticket, and I hadn't seen the Magic Man in person, so I was very happy to be able to see him. He threw a no-look pass in the first quarter to Mark Aguirre streaking down the lane, and I was a happy man. Unfortunately, 2 minutes later, he tore his calf muscle and ended up coaching for the game for the rest of the game. I was lucky enough to know a few of the guys who were playing in the Australian team, and we ended up at the nightclub, the infamous Carousel in South Melbourne, and I was lucky enough to meet him and a few of the players. And being a fan of the Bad Boys, I was able to chat to guys like Mark Aguirre for a little while. I was lucky enough to meet Magic and shake his hand and just thank him for as a sports fan for everything that he did in the sport, both as a player and then as an advocate of what he's done since then. I'll actually put a link in the show notes to a Bloomberg Game Changers documentary on Magic Johnson. If you want to sort of see what he has done after his sporting career from a business point of view, absolutely fascinating story, which has obviously led to him being a part owner of the LA Dodgers. So that's enough of my little who I've met stories. Apologies for lack of podcasting lately. I can't blame lack of voice. All I can blame is my travel schedule and just having some mishaps with interviews that I've lined up. That's not your fault. That's my fault. So I have got those interviews lined up again. Going to catch up with Jesper from the Danish Olympic Committee. Caught up with him at SEAT and going to talk to him and got a few more lined up in the next couple of weeks. So I thought I would jump on, give you a bit of an update of what's been happening and also talk about a few of the things that I've been doing. So the last couple of weeks, I've been working with the Australian Sports Technology Network, ASTN, and they ran a couple of workshops for national sporting organisations, and I presented a lot of the content and a lot of the stuff that I did in SEAT, and you can get it in the SEAT ebook. And again, thank you for everyone's response to that as far as just liking the content. I had one quote refer to it as a Bible, which was quite flattering and a bit over the top, but I'll take all of that kudos. But very much thank you to all the people who helped contribute to it, the people who ran the campaigns and were able to give me their time previously on the podcast and also in the lead up to SEAT. So I went through that same presentation, but national sporting organisations vary in size and vary in goals when you're comparing them, say, to a traditional sports team. So national NSOs, as they're called, and I think I might keep doing that. So it's saves words. They've got different challenges because one, they want to reach and communicate with their participants more so than their fans. They're not really going after the fans, so the fans, to a certain degree, are a secondary thing. And then they also want to be connecting with the community. So if it's it's a real grassroots type of sport, they want to obviously be connecting with the families and the mums and dads that have to drive the kids to the different types of sports. So some of the sports that were at the workshops were the FFA, who we've worked for, the Football Federation, looking at football around Australia and in the States as well. Cricket Australia, Netball Australia, those kind of really big big organisations running both a competition, a league, as well as grassroots. But then even getting down to smaller NSOs, ones based around motorbikes, golf, which isn't small, but a smaller one. Even getting to the point where we had ones like archery, triathlon, ice skating, speed skating. So it was a bit of a challenge from a presenting point of view of what they were looking for as far as how they could leverage digital. But one of the things that really, I tried to stress to them was what they've got to do is go and find all those loose connections. So all those people who are passionate about triathlon or archery or speed skating, they're out there, they're communicating, they're using the platforms that all the professional teams are leveraging, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the like. And so as an NSO, you can start collating and bringing those people together and helping connecting them. So it's real important for them to be connecting their participants, connecting their fans, and building that community. And then the opportunities that may come down the path of digital, whether it be building out websites, producing more content, live streaming, which a few of them are currently doing, will come down it. So it's really for them. It's about defining what their goals are in what they're doing, and I was really big on return on effort. Again, they're really light on resources. They don't have digital teams. They have a person, and that person most likely is running their events, or maybe looking after their marketing, or maybe having several hats in the role, which is what the case is in small sporting organisations. So it's really about return on effort. What can they get the biggest bang for their buck and biggest return to really serve the purpose that they're trying to do. And that might be getting more people to play, might be getting more people to events, and it's about that. So we really went through those kind of things, looked at the different platforms and the opportunity. It was I had a really good discussion with a lot of the different groups, and looking forward to working with some of them, around their national championships, world championships, and things like that. I've had some good fun and success working with guys like at Hockey Australia, both training the national team and now looking at what they can do from a year to year while the Commonwealth Games and the World Champs are over. So what do they do now? So, what do they do to fill the gap? And I think that's something that pro sports and pro leagues have been doing over the past 4 or 5 years, really looking to fill the gap between the live events. Sports built for live, but what can you do in between the Saturday to Saturday when you're not playing? And pro sports are doing a great job with that, and it's now the challenge for the NSOs is to find both resources and also find content. A lot of the content is out there. I did lean on one of Mark Zuckerberg's quotes that I've been using in my slides for a long time. He pretty much says you don't have to build a community. They're out there. They're already doing stuff. So all you have to do is to make that community better. It's not about building a base. They're already out there. And that's definitely the case for a lot of these NSOs. One of the tools that I did talk about as a real resource saver, and it's one that I always, it's always a starting tool that I use when I'm starting with any client, is a tool called IFT. And I'm pretty sure I've spoken about it on the podcast before. It's one of my favorite tools. So it's IFTTT, IFTTT.com. And it stands for if this then that.com. And it really brings out the geek in me, because it's pretty much a way to program and connect your different platforms. And so you can, build your own monitoring systems and archiving systems effectively using IFT, and it's a really good way to collate content. And what you want to do is you can do it. We use a lot with Instagram. Definitely use it with Twitter, and another way is with athlete monitoring. So I'll share some of my favorite recipes that I have shared in the show notes. You can find me. Sean Callanan is my IFT handle. But the ones I just want to go through, the first one is Instagram. And Instagram is a great way, and I've explained how Instagram was used in the Seat ebook with both James Royer with the Bolts Freeze. That was an Instagram activation, and also what Dan Pinney and Jono did at Melbourne Storm with the Instagram photographer competition. One of the reasons we were able to do it and collect all that data and collect all those photos was using IFT. So with IFT, you can have a rule that says, if I like a photo, and you should all be liking photos of your team and of your fans and around your event and around your venue, because it shows your fans that you want them to do it more. So you are going in there and you are liking photos, and then IFT will say, if you like a photo, please save that photo to Dropbox. And normally what we'll do is we'll save it with the user's name, and it goes in a particular user's folder. So that way, automatically, as soon as you like a photo on Instagram, you've got a copy of it. And that's a great way to start collecting fan photos. If you want to run a fan gallery, a competition or anything like that, you've got a copy of it. The second thing is, yes, you can use that. It's sort of public domain. You may get some people that say, I don't want you to use my photo. So there is a little bit of legal grey area around repurposing someone's photo. So the main thing I always look to do is make sure you give credit where credit's due. So normally what I would do is put the Twitter handle, the Instagram handle of the fan on the photo, and make sure I also, say where I got it. And most fans are quite happy for their favourite sports team or sport to say, look at all these great photos from our fans. So to do that, you need to record where you got it, the Instagram links, and the person you got it from. So we have another rule that says, when I like a photo on Instagram, please save all the metadata around that Instagram post to a Google spreadsheet. So again, now I've got a Google spreadsheet of every single Instagram photo that I've liked as Sports Geek HQ on Instagram. And again, so if I want to go and say, I'm going to create a Facebook gallery of great shots, I know where I can get the original references from, I know where I can get the original photo from, and I know where I can get the original link back to the Instagram shot. So I have that option if I want to do a gallery, or if I want to do a storify, or I want to just simply embed the Instagrams, because you can embed an Instagram now on a website. You can just simply embed the Instagrams on a page, on an article. Again, great way for you to reinforce what you want your fans to do on Instagram. It's terribly, it's an awesome visual platform. It's awesome from a geolocation point of view. Fans are going to want to brag that they're at your venue and they're at your game. So you want to keep encouraging that fact. So that's it from a Instagram point of view. There is a stack of other options, and that's the thing. Once you get into IFT, it's like awesome sauce. It is like, here's all these things you can do. Another one that we use that's pretty much leveraging, it's a bit of a Twitter engagement hack. It's a bit of a metric to keep you on top of your game. Remember talking to Josh Tucker from the Dodgers in the podcast we did with Josh, that he tries to favourite every Dodgers tweet, every positive Dodgers tweet, especially the ones from celebrities and stuff, but even from the regular fans. And what you can do with IFT is you can say, well, when I favourite someone on Twitter, please add that person to a particular Twitter list. And it might be favourite fans. So I've got a list that says people I've faved, my favourite tweets. But from a team's point of view, that can be automated. You see a good fan tweet, you obviously can't retweet everything. You can't retweet everything, because then you'll just clog the feed of your fans, but you can favourite a stack of tweets. So one, the fan gets notified that you favourite it. They get a warm, fuzzy feeling all over. And then two, they'll get a secondary notification that says you've been added to a list. Our top fans, we love you. And the great thing is that now that Twitter is increased the limit of lists. They used to be capped at 500. They're no longer capped at 500. You can add. You can have IFT adding on its merry way. And so we use that number of people who have been favorited as a bit of a metric to the digital guy or girl, whoever's running the Twitter account. Are you engaging enough? Are you giving back to the fans? Are you favoriting enough tweets? If we're seeing that number be static, that means we're not recruiting new fans to tweet. We're not engaging new fans. So from a team point of view, you want that number to keep ticking over and getting bigger to sort of grow. This is our digital cheer squad. It is getting bigger because this list is getting bigger. And then the other great thing about having it in a list, you can jump into that list at any time and really get a feel for how your fans are feeling overall, even though they're not mentioning you or using your hashtag and getting in the feed that you're normally looking. You can occasionally just drop into there and see what they're saying. So that's the benefit from a Twitter point of view. And then the other one, as I was sort of saying before, it can provide you a monitoring tool. You can set up an if rule to track and record and back up every single tweet or picture or Instagram shot or Instagram video that your players may do. Now, you can buy monitoring services and all that kind of stuff. And it's not going to stop them doing stupid stuff. We train athletes all the time. You would be the same, talking to them saying, don't do this and please don't do this. But the IFT rule would sit there. It runs every 15 minutes or so, and it will go and say, has player XYZ produced a tweet? Yes, they have, or they've done an Instagram, and it would save it. So in the case that they've done a late night tweet or a late night Instagram, and somewhere along the lines it's gone a bit awry, and they've eventually deleted it because they thought they might get in trouble, that's good. They've at least had that change of heart and deleted it, but you'll have a copy because it'll be saved. So, if you have if you have a problem player, I would say just set up some IFT rules, archive everything they're doing on a Google spreadsheet, and save all their photos to Dropbox. Just gives you a bit of peace of mind to say, what are they doing? And then, the other point of it is you can set up an IFT rule that says, send me all the Instagrams that the players have done in this day, and do it in an email digest. So it's a really good way for you to quickly update yourself on how the players are going and what they're up to. So that's IFT. So check it out. I am a massive fan of IFT. Like I said, it is awesome. If you're not using IFT and you haven't set up, and the key thing is to set up a team account. Don't go and set up an account as you, because eventually some of you will not still be working there. So I always push that set up a team-based account that can be set up with some generic things. Connect your Twitter, connect your Instagram, connect it to a Dropbox somewhere, connect it to a team-based Google account, and just get it working, archiving. You don't have to do anything else. Just get it working and up and running, and then it's saving stuff, especially the Instagrams. Great way to see how much content is that you're, again, saving and what they're sharing. So I'll be back just after this.
Sign up for Sports Geek News at sportsgeekhq.com/sign up now.
All right, I'm back. Earlier this week, I was up in Sydney working with the guys at FFA, doing some planning workshops with the A-League teams. So the people who are in the UK and the US, the A-League is the National League for football. So it's very similar to the MLS in the US for my US listeners. So it's going to be going into its 10th season this coming summer. So it was really good to chat with all the people in the media and the marketing teams around some of the initiatives for Season 10. Big congrats. It's going to be on SBS 1 on Friday nights, which is the free-to-air channel. So that should see a good bump in traffic. Obviously, we're trying to leverage the World Cup and a lot of people following the World Cup, and hopefully seeing similar bumps that football is seeing around the world. And again, the main discussion point for me for the A-League teams, and sort of going through my presentation at SEAT and looking at that, was really around developing these fan personas and understanding why you're producing the content that you're producing, and not just producing content for a very small segment of your fan base. A-League is in a place right now, like a lot of sports, it's in a growth phase, and they have to appeal to both the pure football fan that understands the game, that loves the technical aspects of football. They probably follow both the EPL and the teams in Europe, and might even follow the MLS. They were heavily involved with the World Cup, so that's great. They're always going to love their football. But what all sports need to think about is, are we talking to other fans, other types of fans? So we really talked about developing those fan personas down to a point where you're actually naming the people you're writing for, and it gives your content guys or girls. I'm using the term generically, interchangeably, I should say. It gives them a focus when they're writing. So rather than saying we're writing this for our super avid fans, or we're writing this for our casual fans that come to one or two games, or we're writing this for someone who just follows us on social, we started developing and started talking about, well, we're doing this for a guy called Barry, who's 35 to 45. He loves his smartphone. He works really hard. He watches the EPL and stays up late on a weekend to watch it, and he's starting to follow it. And he's a club member of one of the A-League teams. So rather than just say, here's who we're going to write this bit of content for Barry. And then likewise, we might write another piece of content, or another fan persona might be Susan is a mother, her kids play football on a weekend and her kids are fanatical about it. So how can we bring her into our league or into our content with specific kinds of content? So really have a think about, one, doing a content audit and seeing what your content is doing and why you're doing it, and then go, who is that piece of content for? And that piece of content could be, specific, big chunky written pieces. It can be video pieces. It can be audio, maybe podcasts, but it also can be sort of micro content, like specific Instagrams or things you're doing on Vine, or little activations or little things you're doing on Twitter. They can be for that specific market. And so it's really important to go, we need to cater for all of those different types of fans, rather than just say, let's just do it for the super avid fan that loves everything we do, that likes everything we do. Because if you're just focusing on those fans, it's very hard to grow your brand and your team and your fan base if you're just catering to one set of fans. Which sort of takes me, I've recapped Seat a fair bit. I've been going over some of the notes from Seat. And I really enjoyed my discussion with Kenny Lauer from the Golden State Warriors, Richard Clark from Arsenal, and Oscar Ugaz from Real Madrid, because we really dived in on the storytelling element. And more I've been talking to people since that. And as much as I am the sports geek, and I'll talk about tools like IFT and the like, and how great they are and how they make our lives easier. Really understanding who you're building the content for, and telling your team story, or telling your fan story, or telling your player's story. That's what it's all about. It's like, how can we best tell the story? So Kenny was really big on that, and really leaning on what TV producers are doing, how they produce shows like Lost and Homeland and that, and how the storytelling is the crucial element, and sort of the way that Richard fiercely protects the fans and sees himself as a gatekeeper to make sure the content reaches a certain point that the fans will that they come to expect. So, that's, to me, that's sort of where content in sports, that's where it's headed. Like, you have to be in that space. You have to tell your team's story. So I'm looking forward to having a few more chats around that in the next couple of weeks. It's sort of really front of mind for me. I'd really love to hear what you're thinking about right now. We have got a Sports Geek podcast survey app. I'd love to hear your feedback on what you like, what you don't like, what you want more of, what you want less of. Whether you want these one-man, I don't know, they're not a rant, I'm not angry, just a one-man pod with me talking about different topics, or do you like more interviews? Do you like the radio spots that I drop in every now and again with Francis and Half? Let me know. Just go to sportsgeekhq.com/SGP survey. It's a quick 5-minute answer to give me an idea of who you are and what you would like going forward. So that would be great. I've got some episodes coming up with some guys at hopefully the Marlins. I just said Jesper, the Portland Trail Blazers, Texas Rangers, and some more as well in Australia with guys from the NRL and from around town. So got some more episodes coming up. If you can take your time to fill out the survey, I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, the other thing, and I should be doing it more often, please connect with me if you're a listener. And a shout out to Dennis who connected with me on LinkedIn after being listening. If you're listening and haven't connected with me on LinkedIn or sent me a tweet, please do. I got a tweet recently from Steve Sammartino, who you would know from Beers Blokes Business and the Lego car. He tweeted how he was inspired by a recent Beers Blokes Beers podcast that we did on hustling, just hustling around your business. Those tweets and that kind of feedback is why I got up and hit record on this podcast. It's why I do it each week. So please tell me exactly what you want and what you want from it. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Find me pretty easily, Sean Callanan. But yeah, tell me that you are a listener, and I'll be quick to click the accept button. And for anyone who hasn't got the ebook from Seat, over 75 pages in PDF form, and again, bit of mind blown going into 2 separate offices last week when I was up in Sydney and seeing it in printed form. Not great for the environment, guys, but it is cool that people have thought so much to actually print it, take it home, read it on the train and that kind of thing. So if you haven't got it, sign up at sportsgeekhq.com/seat ebook. Once you sign up and confirm, you'll get all the links to the PDF and the slides. Download them, share them with your friends. It's yours, because I really just want to lift the standards and have everyone doing awesome stuff. I want the next one of these for Seat or whatever I next do it to include more of your campaigns. So, if you're doing a killer campaign of any nature, whether it be a content piece, anything like that, please let me know. I'd love to profile it in my next ebook, or let's get on the Skype and have a chat about it. So that's about it. My name is Sean Callanan. If you haven't figured out by now, I'm just not doing a good job at marketing myself. And you've been listening to the Sports Geek podcast. If you wouldn't mind, last call to action is if you could jump on iTunes even, and give a review on iTunes or Stitcher or SoundCloud. I'd really appreciate it. All the linkage and all the reviews definitely do help. I've seen a big bump in downloads in the last month or two. So thank you for those who have spread the word. I very much appreciate it. Until next episode, you can get the show notes for this episode at sportsgeekhq.com/56. And yeah, I forgot the ticking clock and who to dedicate it to. Haven't done the research, but the only number that comes up in my mind when I think of 56 is former Giants NFL player Lawrence Taylor, or LT. I think he wore 56. If I've got it wrong, it's going to be one of those for the blooper reel. Until next week, I'm Sean Callanan. Cheers.
Check out which teams work with SportsGeek at sportsgeekhq.com/clients. Find all SportsGeek podcasts at sportsgeekhq.com/SGP. Please leave a review on iTunes. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/iTunes. Thanks for listening to the Sports Geek Podcast.